We're talking about how to get insanely rich in wholesaling in 2024. And I want to give this as a precursor that so many people define richness just in money terms. I'm here to tell you, you're not even scraping the iceberg if that's what you're thinking about it. My true definition of just being rich, being wealthy, is doing what you want, when you want, and being the own manager of like your own time, and then growing and prospering each and every month and each and every year. See, if you're just going to measure people's wealth and richness by money, well, I'm going to tell you, money will never buy happiness. I know this. I've lived it. It is what it is. But I will tell you, money will buy you a lot of things. So let's talk particularly on how to do this in 2024 in wholesaling, because you guys know I'm a wholesaler at heart. And I'm just going to kind of walk you through my rules, my definitions on how to get rich. And the really cool part is I'm going to talk as if you don't have two nickels to rub together. You got to focus on doing your first wholesale deal. So many people talk, they've been going months, 6 months, a year. Some people I've met 2 to 3 years. And you got to kind of look at it and go, like, how bad do you really want it? Honestly, if you truly want to become wealthy, like super rich in wholesaling, especially in 2024, you got to get out the gate and get your first deal done. And if you haven't got your first deal done, you got to ask yourself, what is it that is holding me back? What is restraining me from doing this? And I'm here to tell you, 9 times out of 10, it's everything going on in your head, and you haven't trained it right and you're stuck. You should be able to do your first wholesale deal well within your first 6 months, and ideally in your first 90 to maybe 120 days. But after that, it's not about how much you study, how hard you work. It's a question of, do you actually apply the principles? Do you actually go out and take the action doing the work? And I'm telling you right now, if you do not do wholesale deals, you don't have to worry about the rest of my presentation, because none of it's going to work. To legitimize yourself as a wholesaler, you actually have to go out and do a deal. I get it. The first few are brutal and they're challenging. Some of you guys got it with greatest of ease, and I think that's awesome. But no matter what market you are, where you're doing this, is you got to get your first deal done. So many people are thinking 100 deals down the road. What are you going to do to get your first deal done? And that's all I would concentrate on in the very beginning. And I don't care if it takes you 3 months, 6 months, whatever it is, just get it done. Because without that, it doesn't matter what I put on the screen. You are not going to become rich without doing the deal. So I always ask people, once you've done your first deal, then we're going to turn it into 5 deals. And then after that, it's really easy to double. And then it's just a matter of following the rules to the game. So once you get that first deal, it means you're on your way to getting your first 100K in wholesaling. And 100K is like the bare minimum you really need to survive in the United States. And here's the good news. If you guys have been living on like 30, 40 grand, 100 grand will be amazing for you. But I'll be the first to tell you, 100 grand is not a lot of money anymore. The cost of goods and services and housing and gas and everything is just insane. So we want to get you to your first deal to get you to your first 100K. And the first deal will easily lead to that first 100K. And I'm telling you that 100K will easily get you to $1 million in wholesaling. Let me show you how you do it. So let's talk about the rules first of all. Ready? You got to stop trying to look rich. It doesn't work. And you know exactly what I mean. You guys have heard me talk about this before. If you're out there leasing the fancy Mercedes, BMW, you're trying to impress all your friends and neighbors on the block, you're just fooling yourself. Nobody gives a crap. Nobody cares if you own it or lease it. In fact, by you leasing it, you're almost admitting it that you don't have the money for it. So the reality is, if you would just stop keeping up with the Joneses and make that sacrifice, you could leapfrog your neighbors by thousands and thousands of leaps. But we are in a world, especially in the United States, where we all want to look and act like we're rich. And the reality is most of us are broke. It's the truth, guys. I was this person for the longest time. I just wanted to look like I knew what I was doing. And the reality is, when you try to keep up with the Joneses, it's just a house of cards. It's just a matter of time for the whole thing falls down, because you have got to go out and produce the revenue. And if you want to stop trying to look rich and you give that up, you replace it by, I'm going to learn how to actually get rich. And the rule to learn on how to get rich is, number one, stop trying to act like you're rich. The only person you're fooling is yourself. And once you come to that complete acceptedness, then you can progress. You see, if you can't identify what the problem is, you can't correct it. You can't fix it. And that's where the human ego gets stuck. The person always wants to be right. This is me. This is how we're going to do it. You have to let that go right away. So we're going to stop trying to look rich. You're going to actually accept the fact that you need to learn on how to be rich. And here's the big one. Once you accept those, this one's easy. Make the sacrifice so now you can become rich. And what do I mean by the sacrifice? While all your friends are out on the fancy vacations and they're partying and everything else, you are in there doing the work. You're doing your marketing, you're finding wholesale deals, you're meeting with sellers, you are just nonstop going through your leads, you're getting your government lists, and you're doing everything. You have to put in some time to do this. Guys, I buried my head to the pavement for 7 years. I didn't even look back. And honestly, the first 2 years, I had a lot of fun doing it because I didn't know what the hell I was doing. But at some point, you have to make a sacrifice to get ahead. And if you're always trying to keep up with the Joneses, you're never going to make it because eventually you will have something that falls apart. You can't keep up with payments and you're going to get exposed. And it even looks worse. So don't act like you're rich. Don't try to attempt to become rich. You got to learn how to become rich. See, most people want to be rich without doing any of the learning or the journey. And that's what we call a dream. It's like a unicorn and it's never going to happen. And the sooner you understand that. So let's talk about the rules to getting there. So I can show you how to generate a ton of money in wholesaling. And I went through this journey where I learned how to generate a lot of money. I just didn't know what to do with the money. And I used my old habits to create massive problems in my life. And I want you guys to understand this. So the first thing you have to understand is you got to stop buying stupid things. You are in the prime time. Some of you guys are going through the holidays watching it, or you're coming out and you're getting the holiday bills in 2024. And I'm here to tell you, man, most of the crap you guys buy, especially during Christmas, it's useless. Now, I'm all for gifts. But a gift is just a gift. The true experience is spending time with people, getting to know them, and really making a difference in their life. Buying them a cheap gift from Costco that was most likely built in China that's going to fall apart in 3 to 6 months for some temporary pleasure, it is not going to replace you. It is not going to make someone like you that much more. I'm here to tell you, you guys got to stop spending ridiculous amount of money on gifts and everything like that. It's a waste of time. More importantly, think about the things you guys buy personally. Your fancy cars, the boats, the houses you can't afford. Like, do you really need all this stuff? Once again, if you're not trying to keep up with the Joneses and you truly want to become rich, you're going to have to ask yourself some really hard questions on this, and you're just going to have to let some of it go. Now, in order for you to do that, you have to understand a couple of things. You got to understand the difference between a liability and an asset. And most people don't understand this. I know this is basic, but I'm just going to walk through it real quick. Number one, a liability. They're usually fun things, fun toys that give you temporary satisfaction, and they just give you long-term pain because you usually got big fat payments. What do I mean? Cars, boats, houses. Yes, your house is a liability. I don't give a crap what you say to me. And here's how you define a liability: anything that you have to pay out. So if you own your own home and you're writing a check to your mortgage, paying taxes, insurance, everything, it is a liability. Now, yes, you get appreciation with it and you'll get your money back when you sell it. But so many homeowners want to use their house as a piggy bank. It's usually the worst thing you can do. The only thing I give you permission to pull money out of your house is to go buy other income producing assets. And a house, a boat, a car, a house is an exception. A boat, a car, an RV, a motorcycle, all that stuff, it will get you nowhere in life. It's a fun toy, don't get me wrong, but it's going to be worth less. You're going to have to pay every month and you have to worry about it. You have to insure it and you have to title it. And for those reasons, if you keep buying liabilities like I have up on my screen here, you will never get ahead. The reality is you should be buying a liability. If you want to buy a liability, say you want to buy a really nice car or boat, it should be able to write one check. It doesn't even hurt you or your business. And it's a joy to buy it. If you are stretching every dime you got to get it, most likely it's not a good fit for you anyways. And honestly, if you're going to make the sacrifice, remember, it's going to require sacrifices to get rich, especially in wholesaling. It's no different than any other business. So liabilities, if you're concerned, if you are paying somebody monthly or you're paying to upkeep it, anything like that, and it does not produce income, it's a liability. You better start looking at your liabilities real carefully because these things will wipe your cash flow out. And it doesn't allow you to buy things that actually make you rich. Now, on the opposite side, assets. Assets pay you. It's an asset if it pays you, period. End of story. You can't redefine this. I've tried it every which way. I know some of you goes, well, my house, it's really an asset. No, it's not. Unless you're renting it out and someone's paying you, it's a liability. Let me ask you this. You could go buy the same small trailer and pay $1,200 a month when you guys are paying your $3,500 mortgage. It is a luxury item. It is a liability. An asset pays you. So once you understand that and you understand how your cash goes in and out of your account, if you really live on a tight budget and you generate cash through wholesaling, you have to make a decision. If you keep buying the same dumb crap you did in the past, like I did, it doesn't matter how much money you make, you will never become rich because you'll never keep it. Remember, money rewards those that actually take care of it. So if you reinvest it in something that grows over time and makes more money, you'll even be happier. Trust me, you've got to make the sacrifice, guys. So now here's my bonus asset. You ready for this? Any asset you buy, and it goes up in value. So if I buy, say, a multifamily, say I bought a duplex, and each side's paying me $2,000 a month, $4,000, and at the end of the year, I got $20,000 extra dollars. And here's the really cool part. It tends to go up in value. It appreciates. Now the question, does it appreciate or does inflation just destroy the value of the dollar? It doesn't really matter. This is a huge win-win. And this right here, guys, is one of the single functions of how you really get financially free, especially with wholesaling. You see, once I can show you how to generate $100,000, I'll show you how to do that 10 times over. It's easy to put in $1 million. The question is, are you going to buy income producing assets or are you going to buy liabilities that wipe you out? One of the easiest things you do is you guys are going to find single family homes or even some multis that people will give you incredible terms on. They make it super simple. These are great assets to buy because you get them at such a low cost and you rent them out for positive cash flow. You collect 10, 15, 20 of these, amazing things will happen in your life. And I'm here to tell you, assets that you can buy that can appreciate, that actually pay you. If you can collect these over the years, especially if you're young and you just started, amazing things can happen in your life. It's honestly, it is hard not to become rich by buying assets like that. Now, the problem is we take that, say you just take that $100,000 you earn, and after you pay your taxes, you buy a sports car, you take a trip to, Jamaica, and then you got to start all over again. And that's the problem. You have to make the sacrifices to get ahead. Remember, when everybody is out there balling, you've got to be packing the cash away and making it work. Now, I'm going to put out a controversial thing here. This is not 100% accurate, but it's about 95% accurate because I do have people that work that actually are very wealthy, but they have a very specialized skill set and they work for a great company. Unfortunately, that is the exception and not the rule. The reality is you're not going to become rich working for others. I'm sorry. You can love your job. And honestly, if you're okay with that, I'm okay with it too. But if you want to be completely free, financially free, physically free, freedom of your time, controlling everything when you start and stop work. If you work for somebody else, there are rare exceptions. If you run a sales floor for a great company, you can be a millionaire working for the right employer with the right skill set. But honestly, that's called an entrepreneur. Most of you guys are going to wind up being entrepreneurs. You're going to wind up doing the wholesaling thing. So if you're working for someone else, I just want you to understand you're working on their dreams, not yours. I don't knock it because I did it for a long time, but the reality is, the odds of you getting rich, because the other part you got to learn is the US tax code, and you can get the exact same benefits as a corporation as a wholesaler. So what if I showed you, I could show you how to make up first 100K in your first year and you kept close to 100% of that money, as opposed to being a W-2 employee where you're going to pay between 21, 25% of that. That's like getting a 25% pay increase on top of it. You see, entrepreneurs, good ones that run their own businesses, read the rules, especially on taxes. Most W-2 employees just go, okay, how much do I pay? Honestly, as a W-2 employee, you are penalized the most in the US tax system. End of story. I can show it to you a million times over. And I love when people say, well, so-and-so, they paid zero in taxes. It means they read the rules and they made the appropriate investments in the US system, being payroll, development, purchasing assets, and then the US tax system rewards you for it. So when you hear people that didn't pay their taxes unless they completely cheated it, but if you have enough depreciation, you buy enough real estate, you have enough employees, you have enough fixed assets, you can offset most of your income. Why? Because you read the rules. I didn't write the rules to the US tax codes. Go speak to your politicians. They're the ones who write it, and they're the ones constantly changing it. And it's our job, your job, to understand it so you can take full advantage of it. So remember, if you're paid $100K as a W-2 employee, you take that money and then basically you got to pay roughly, just say 24% of that. So 24 grand goes right out the door. And then keep in mind, you are limited by what your employer provides as a 401k. Most 401ks are complete crap. Did you know you can put away up to 60K a year in a 401k? The problem is you got to own the corporation to be able to do that. Can you imagine if you could set 62 grand aside a year? Now, I'm not a CPA, but every December I take a huge deduction and put it in my 401k. That's money. Now you're going to have to pay taxes down the road on it, but like, why not offset your income, especially when it's high? Guys, you got to read the rules. And that's the biggest secret that I find with people who become independently wealthy. They learn to read the rules, or they have people help them figure out the rules. So let's talk about specifically what rich people acquire first. First, these are the most important ones. And they're not out buying cars and fancy stuffs. They're out getting a first thing. So the first thing I always going to say is going to be rental properties. Why? Because you're going to have some deals that come across your desk. You might be able to get some creative financing, or they're very, very low purchase prices. These are great properties to just hopefully get cleaned up. And I don't want you to fully rehab them and generate. Let me give you an example. I own trailers. Yeah, I've never been excited about them. I buy them anywhere from 10 to 25 grand, but they rent out for $1,700 a month now. When I first bought them, they only rented for $300 because I was patient. I made the sacrifice. Those go in my account every month. And honestly, they're very, very simple to keep running. The taxes are low on them. The insurance is low on them. And honestly, they beat the hell out of any of my regular single family houses because they generate the most cash flow. They are not the sexiest thing, but they work really, really well. What do other rich people do? They buy businesses. So you as a wholesaler are going to create a business. And if you create wholesaling correctly, you can run it forever. You see, the pipe dream of selling a wholesaling business, that's complete BS. You are the asset to your company. And the assets that it produces, like rental houses, multifamilies, apartments, anything like that, that is the outcome of the business. Now, everybody's so obsessed with trying to flip their business. And I'm here to tell you, you can produce assets in wholesaling. My wholesaling's worked so well. I've been doing it over 20 years now. I run it as a business. I'm just not in it every day. I know exactly what needs to be done. I know the cost of running the business, and I know the key players that it needs. Remember, I'm not the guy who makes the most money in wholesaling. I never claim to be, but I will promise you I'm probably one of the richest guys you ever meet wholesaling. Why? Because I do what I want, when I want. I got plenty of money to do whatever I want. And that alone makes me a dangerous person. I love this business. So you can always run your wholesaling business. Here's the caveat. You're not going to sell your wholesaling business. I'm so tired of people telling, oh, I sold my business for 8-9 figures. It's never been happening, guys. I've looked at a ton of wholesaling businesses. They're only as good as the operator and the employees of it. And honestly, if you have a great producing business, you can bring in a key employee and get yourself out of the way and have them run it. And that's what I had Zach did when I initially broke out with several other employees. And now I still love wholesaling. I'm still involved in it. I just don't need to be there every day. So your business you're going to own is going to be your wholesaling, because once you get it up and producing, it'll produce cash forever. Why would you walk away from it? The only people that walk away from wholesaling businesses are the ones that quit it. And it means it wasn't really making any money, and that's why they stopped doing it. Just saying. Some of the other stuff's pretty straightforward. It's the stock market's a big one, especially if you're young, you got a lot of time. It's so easy to invest in stuff. And honestly, I like to buy stocks. I like to have them go up over time. I hate that I don't really have control over everything. You can't time the market. You're never going to beat the market. So just join the damn thing, pick out the stocks you think have the best, or just do a growth fund or anything like that. If you guys need ideas for that, QQQ, ARC, a lot of that stuff, but like an S&P 500, like a Vanguard fund. I'm not a financial advisor, but honestly, I've never really got hurt with stocks. So the key with stocks is you got to own them for a few years. So in case there's a dip, but they always come back. I've been doing this a long time, guys. There was only about a 2 or 3 year period where it got a little bit like nerve wracking, but for the most part, if you're in it for the long haul, 5 to 10 years, don't ever think you can time the market. Anybody tell you they can time the market, I promise you they got killed. It's impossible. You can't do it. And my favorite are Forex people. Well, you can time the trading. I go, okay, just show me your wins and never show me the losses. And we can sit here and sell the story all day. The reality is you're selling an MLM. Most Forexes are, but that's not I don't do MLMs. They're just not my cup of tea. I'm not saying they don't work. I don't like how they're sold. So the last thing that rich people invest first, ready? So you notice I said rental properties, businesses, stock market, and they investing in people. When they find a good person that can help their business grow and help them get things done, they go all in on them and they invest hard on them. And it's not only with salaries and monies. They teach, they mentor, and they do everything, a lot of things like I do with you guys. And I'm just telling you, these are the early things. And I want you to understand this. So investing in people, stock market, businesses, which are going to be your wholesaling, and pick up a few rental properties. By you doing the rental properties, keeping your business producing cash flow, taking some of your wins and divesting in the stock market, and then finding people to help you grow. I'm telling you guys, when you become super rich, you can buy whatever you want, because then you got to try to get rid of money, and it's a pain in the butt. But I'm here to tell you is if you're still using your regular CPA, the one you started out when you started your business or you graduated high school, you have not pushed your wholesaling business. I've been through so many CPAs as my businesses grow. So as of right now, I'm at like 9+ businesses. And the reason is you got to keep up all the paperwork, all the accounting, and you need CPAs to help you on how to read the tax code and everything like that, because I can't ever figure it out on my own. And then 2 months ago, we figured out what our tax liability is, already made our estimated payments, and then we do investments. We blow up the 401ks, max them out to the best of our ability. You can do SEPs, IRAs are going to be on your own. There's so many things you can do with a corporation. So most of you guys start out with LLCs, and that's fine. But I'm telling you, as you get very good in wholesaling, you're going to want to switch it over to corporation and take advantage of every deduction that a regular corporation takes. Did you know that you can take trips? You can take retreats. You can spend 10, 20, 30 grand. As long as you're doing business and you're discussing business, that's normal money that a W-2 wage earner would have to pay after taxes. As a business owner, you have the ability to actually deduct that expense while you operate your business. Now, you have to do it legally. Consult your CPAs on how to do it. But guys, just by being a wholesaler, to get you to 100 grand, I can save you 50% of the expenses you would normally pay as a W-2 employee. Why? Because you can pay for most of your stuff with pre-tax dollars versus after-tax dollars. But I didn't want to go too deep on this one because, to be honest with you, my goal is always to get you focused and started on wholesaling. But the reality is these are the basic things that you have to do. And I will tell you, I can't get this through your head. You're going to have to make a sacrifice. I've never met anybody rich outside of trust fund babies that actually had everything given to them. They actually all made a sacrifice, every one of them. Go down the line. I know there's exceptions. People are born with money. Those people usually never keep the money because they don't understand money. But I'm telling you, you're going to have to make a sacrifice to learn how to become rich.